We are going to be a small but mighty class tonight. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started here. So, we are going to be talking about, hold please. I was so ready. There we go. That's what I meant to do. Cool. So we are going to be talking tonight about collaborating with Google Docs. I'm very enthusiastic about this. I love all the Google products, so I'm excited that Sandy and I get to share this with you. This is a follow-up to our more recent class. We've been doing a series on the Google products in general. This is the third one we're pleased to present. I did want to say all skill levels are welcome. So if you feel like you really have a good handle on the Google products, or you have no idea what it is, we will help you through it. So no worries, and feel free to ask any question. So we are more than happy to talk you through it. We really believe that these tools are beneficial to choruses and individuals. Really, truly believe that. Like Sandy and I've said this before, I'll say it again, we are not Google employees. I promise you. We're just really passionate about the capabilities of these tools. And so we just want to share it with you. So before we tell you a little bit more about ourselves, Sandy and I, we are going to talk to you, or rather get an idea of where you're at with the Google products. So here's how this is going to work. This is an optional activity based on your tech capabilities at home, but I'm going to put something on the screen here in a moment. It is called a Mentee Meter, and if you've been to these before, you might know what that is, and if not, that's okay too. So here it is. This is a Mentee Meter, and you have the option to respond to this question via what's called Mentee. So in order to respond to this, you would go to www.mentee.com and use the code that you see at the top of the screen that I'm sharing right now. So the code is 14786592. I'll repeat that in a moment. If this is making you feel really nervous or anxious, you're more than welcome to also respond, or rather respond to the question in chat. And if you just can't figure it out at all, that is okay too. So choose your own adventure here. But the question is, what's your experience using the collaboration features of Google Docs? Your response might be, I have no idea what that is. Or your response might be, well, I used it here and here and here, and this is what we did, blah, 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 blah. So that's up to you. Right, got a couple of responses there in the chat. Well, a response in the chat. Great. Okay, so in the chat, we've got somebody who hasn't used it at all, hasn't used those collaboration features, somebody who has just started, hasn't used collaboration but has used Google Docs, and then I've got a response that says, I'm a moderate level user. Okay, so we're kind of at different stages here. Oh, nice, another response popping in there. So Sandy and I are, like I said, really excited to be able to kind of fill in some of those knowledge gaps you might have, or if you're up and build up those skills. Thank you for your responses, everybody. Okay. Sharing various screens here and such. Oh no. Wait, there we go. I did it. I'm going to actually turn it over to Sandy now so she can introduce her wonderful self. Sandy, go for it.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm a member of Helena Express Singers, and I'm the communications coordinator for Region 13. And just so you know, my background as it relates to technology is I do have a degree in information systems management. I've taught many technology classes for businesses as well as at the community college level. And I have done many project management positions for my career, as well as implementation and installing different software applications. So just a little bit about my technology background tonight. And Rachel, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thanks, Sandy. Let's see. My education background, I'm actually a teacher, a choir teacher. I have a bachelor's in music education and I have a master's in, what am I trying to say? Master's in education with an emphasis in learning and technology. So that's specifically where I chose to focus in my master's. I really am fascinated and excited about incorporating technology in a meaningful way into the classroom. So that's me a little bit, my education. As far as Sweet Adelines is concerned, I'm the very proud director of Jet City's Chorus out of Federal Way, Washington, and I've also been in various quartets. Most recently, I sang in the tenor. I was the tenor of the quartet Renegade. So that was me for barbershop. One more thing, I'm a level 1 Google certified educator, so I do have quite a bit of background knowledge in Google specifically, and that's how I learned that I should be so passionate about it, which I am. So, all right, let's keep on keeping on. We are really hoping that after this class, you feel comfortable not only with the skills we're going to talk about, but also bringing those skills back to your chorus and actually teaching others. So that's our hope. We are hoping that you can explore organizational styles within Google Drive to collaborate more easily with Google Docs. We also want you to be able to describe how to share Google Docs with others and set the notification settings. We want you to be able to respond to comments and suggestions within a Google document and to identify different uses of the version history and to navigate the version history in general. Sandy, you're up.
And so I'm going to give you just a few examples before we actually get into the instructional part of this. So what does it mean when we talk about collaborating with Google Docs? Well, if you have a Google Doc in your chorus, and let's say you've been dealing a lot with COVID planning, right? And maybe you need to get input from the rest of your chorus board or management team. Well, you can certainly send out email after email and get feedback that way. That certainly works. Or the way that I just love is creating a Google Doc that asks for feedback and having all of your course administrative team comment or suggest within that Google Doc so that everything's in one spot and you can go back and take a look at all of that and then discuss that during your team meeting. You could also collaborate when you're reviewing your standing rules, and you may want to make some changes. You can make comments on the one and only standing rule document that you have about how you might want to change a particular section of that standing rule. Or I love using it for brainstorming. So sometimes it's really, really hard to get all of your course members together if you're having some type of a brainstorming session. So you can create a brainstorming document with your questions, share that document with all of your course members, and ask them to put their comments and their suggestions and their ideas in that one document. And then you can gather that, review that together, and then start doing the rest of your strategic planning. So those are some examples of where you can take one document, open it up to others, let them provide feedback, whether they edit it or they add a comment or they make a suggestion, so that you don't have to have all of these emails going back and forth or sending of documents back and forth for editing. So just to get you ready for this course, that's examples of collaborating with Google Docs.
Thanks, Sandy.
Mhm.
So I'm actually going to just kind of do a quick refresher on creating and sharing folders and files. This is really essential if you're going to collaborate to be able to know that others can actually see the documents and have the right permissions for them. So it says refresher, but if you weren't at our previous courses, this might be new to you, and I just wanted to make sure you know that that's totally fine. So give me one moment here. That's the right folder. Okay. So I have navigated to a specific spot in my Google Drive, and now I'm going to create a folder that I want to share. Okay, so as a quick review, I'm going to hit New over on the left, Folder, um, to share with Chorus. So you can do this. You don't actually have to like go out of your way to make a new file or folder. You can do this with anything you've already got on your drive, or you can make something new. You can do this with folders and files. I'm going to show you for folders, but I just want you to know it's the exact same process for any type of file. So Google Doc, Google Slide, Google Sheet, etc. Okay. So you select the thing that you want to share, and then up in the top right, there's a little person with a plus sign. You'd click that. And now you have some options. So up at the top part, you can add specific people to view or edit or comment on your document. So let's say I'm not me, and I want Rachel to be able to access this. So I would type in Rachel's address, email address, and then I get to decide what kind of access Rachel has. If I want her to edit, have the exact same permissions as me as the owner, I can have her be the editor, or an editor, I should say. If I want her to be able to comment or suggest things, then I would change her permissions to commenter. This way, I can see her suggestions. Sandy and I will demonstrate this later, but she can't actually change my document. And then finally, I could just make her a viewer. This would be more of like an FYI, here's a document for you to look at. And then I'm not really looking for feedback or changes to be made necessarily in this situation. This notify people is really important. If you leave this checked, then whoever is up here, and I can actually add additional people. Let's just say, sorry, Sandy, I don't have your email address memorized. So I could just make, I could list a bunch of people. It doesn't have to be just one person. So if I've got this checked, it's going to send an email out to anybody you have up in that box. And if I uncheck it, it's not going to send them an email. They just need to somehow know that, that something has been shared with them so that they know to go and find that. Okay, so that's that part. Another section here, if you're not dealing with the top, is you can actually kind of do this more in a group kind of way. So down below it says that the way that it's sharing right now is through getting a link. It's restricted. Only people added can open with this link. So again, if I choose to share with Sandy, I know that's not really your email address, with Sandy, and I sent it to her, then the only person who would be able to view that would be me as the owner and Sandy. Okay. I can also change this to get it anyone with the link, meaning that anyone who has this link right here can access, in this case, this folder, and they could view it. I can change this so that they edit it or could edit it or comment on it. So essentially what I could do is I could select anyone with a link, and then I could copy the link, and then I could send that link to my entire chorus, and then they could have viewing or commenting or editing privileges based on whatever this drop-down arrow says. One more thing I want to mention in this section. If I have it to restricted, I can, let's see, make this go to Rachel and have her be an editor, and I could send it to her. And then I could, after that, add Sandy. I could add Sandy, and I could make her a commenter. So you don't have to just allow whoever you have on here specific access. You can change it based on the person. Okay, so this is just a quick kind of speed review. If you have more questions, feel free to ask Sandy and I later about this. And then when you have something shared with you, it turns up in your shared with me section over on the left hand side. So if I hadn't notified anybody, right, but let's say I had Sandy's email address correct and actually shared it with her, she would go into her Google Drive and click shared with me, and it would be located in that section. All right, I think I've got that all good. Sandy, I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Okay, I'll go ahead and have you stop sharing for a second. So when you're using this in choruses or in groups and you want to collaborate, organization is essential. So what I want to do first, before we actually get into showing you how to do the collaboration piece, I want to review how we can organize our Google Drives. And I'm going to actually use an example of the Helen Express Singers Google Drive and how we've set up folders and nested folders within those so that individuals have their own folders on the management team and can put documents in there, but we can all see it. So I'm going to share my screen. And I am actually on the Helen Express Singers Google account. And if you take a look off to the right, I've opened up my drive. I've expanded that so you can see I have two folders within this Google Drive. I have a folder for the Helen Express management team. That folder I have actually assigned editing privileges to everyone on our management team. So they can get in there and they can access whatever's there. If I expand this, you can see how this is organized. And I have a document that sort of shows this outline. When I am done, I will throw that document into the chat so that you can see that. But if you take a look at this, I have a folder called Contracts, and unfortunately I have this folder called COVID-19 where we were working with COVID. But then what I've done is for every person on the management team, I have created individual folders. So for the director, the events coordinator, finance, I also have a forms and templates where we put all of our forms and templates that we use and we can go to. I have another folder called Governing Documents and Handbooks. And then we get back to individual team member folders, a folder for meeting minutes and reports, and a folder for our music, and so forth. So this helps us better organize this. Notice I created this main folder called Management Team. The reason I created that instead of just putting out folders for contracts, COVID, director, that kind of thing, is because I want to share that entire folder of information with our entire management team. I have nested folders within this. So if I were to go down to Performance Coordinator, these are called nested folders. These are subfolders under the Performance Coordinator. So she is responsible for costuming. So she has a costumes folder. She keeps performance history. So she has a performance history that she takes care of. She has resources. So when she gets resources from other choruses, from Sweet Adelines, from the region, she can put her resources in there, and a show history folder. So our management team coordinators each sort of are responsible for how they organize within their own folder. So they can create subfolders or nested folders as they deem appropriate. So you notice all of these all the way down to virtual chorus falls under the management team folder. I also have a pictures and memories folder, which I have given full access to all of our members. So when they take photos or if they get a special thank you card in the mail or whatever it might be, they can go ahead and add those to our pictures and memories folders. Now, there's some structure in here too. I have lots of folders for all the different shows that we have had and performances because we get lots and lots of pictures. So I try to organize within that as well. But that folder was created so that every one of our members can have access to that and add to it. So one key takeaway here is make sure that you start with a main folder so that if everybody needs to have access within that folder, you set up a management team and you share that with your entire management team. You can always remove people as you have new management team members come on. You can take them off of that management team and add the new members onto it as they come on. Just so you know, your Region 13 team is actually using a drive, very similarly organized to this, and the faculty actually has their own drive within that and lots of folders as well. So that's just a brief intro on how you want to organize things, and I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over to Rachel.
Rachel, your sound is not on.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm singing Sandy's praises. I was going on and on about how much I love her organization and her organizational structure. So anyway, Sandy's great. Yay. And it's like, that's so beautiful. And I love the idea of sharing the pictures with the members too. It's just very cool. Anyway, okay, so I'm moving right ahead. I would love to have a volunteer. And here's what I would ask that volunteer to do if you're feeling brave tonight. I would love for somebody to share their screen on Zoom and to go to Google Drive and create a Google Doc and then share the Google Doc with our training account, with Sandy, with our training account for this class, which is reg13training@gmail.com. So that's what I would love to have. And I will walk you through the process, but I do need a volunteer. She said, full of hope and excitement. Now I'm going to do this thing they teach in teacher school called practicing wait time, which is where I just stare into all of your souls until you feel uncomfortable enough to volunteer. Ready? Here we go.
I would volunteer, but I never did a screen sharing.
Ooh, I'll help with that. Or Sandy, would you like to?
You can do it. You're
Okay.
going.
Okay. So, Joy, that was Joy, right?
Joy, yeah.
Joy. What you're gonna do is in Zoom, down at the bottom, you're gonna see a green button that says Share Screen. Do you see that?
Share screen. Okay.
When you click on that button, you might have a myriad of options. You can click screen, which will show everything that's on your computer, or if you already have a window that you'd like to share open elsewhere on your computer, you could select that window and then hit share in the bottom right.
Okay, so I don't have a window to share. I just have the screen window.
That's okay. So go ahead and click screen and share. Unless, of course, you've got something really embarrassing in the background on your computer, and then maybe close that first. Perfect. So right now I can see your Microsoft Teams window. That's okay. I'm going to have you go into your Google Drive. Can you do that for me, Joy?
Okay, give me a minute.
You bet. I am so impressed that you're willing to do this. Thank you.
Okay, I'm in my Google Drive.
Yeah, okay. So now I would like you to create a Google document. Excellent. Go ahead and give your document a name.
Okay.
Okay. Up in the top left where it says Untitled Document.
Okay.
Yeah. Click on that. Yep. And hit the Enter button. Beautiful. Okay. Up in the top right, Joy, there's a blue Share button. Go ahead and click on that. All right. In that box right there, you're going to type in our email address, which is reg13training@gmail.com.
Okay.
That's the one. You can click that. Yep. Okay, now over to the right, Joy, you can decide if you want me to be able to edit, comment, or view it.
We'll let you edit.
That was very kind of you. Thank you. All right, you can write me a little message if you want. I'll see that in my email inbox later. Beautiful. Do me a favor, Joy, add an exclamation point somewhere in there. Yeah, okay. I feel good about that. Go ahead and send it. Okay. There should be a button somewhere on your screen that says stop sharing. Go ahead and click that when you find it. It is, let's see, I'm not sharing, so I don't remember. It might be up at the top if you drag your cursor to the top center of your screen. Up, 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 up. Keep going, keep going, keep going, all the way, all the way, all the way.
Oh, okay.
Do you see a stop sharing button?
Pause. I see a pause sharing.
Shoot. Sandy, do you remember exactly what that looks like?
Yeah, it's all the way up at the top. If you hover there, why don't I do this? I'm just going to.
Oh, wait. I see
Did you find
I
it?
see it.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay, Joy! Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you again. Hold on one moment here. That was awesome. Way to go.
Boy, did you hear us all clapping for you?
I did. Thank you.
Yes.
That was a new one for me.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Okay. Sorry, give me one moment. I'm almost ready to share my screen with you again. I was hoping the email would come through a little quicker, but it's not gonna. So if I just left my computer to its own devices, then in a minute or two, I would get an email from Joy that had her little message in it, and I'll get to see that later, but unfortunately, probably not during our training. And then I could click on the link and I would go to that document. But since I don't have that email yet, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to get to it. Just if somebody's like, hey, I shared a document with you and you never get an email, here's what you would do. Up in the top left, whoops, sorry, you're going to your Google Drive, and then over on the left, you're looking for the shared with me button. So when I click on that, it's going to take me to all of the documents that have ever been shared with my account. I can search them, or I see right at the top, today this document was shared with me. I'm going to double click on that to open it. And in fact, it is the document that Joy just created in her own drive. And now I can add to it. There we go. And now Joy, I'm sure, can see that on her screen as well. We're collaborating on this document together. Okay. Thank you so much for your bravery, Joy. That was awesome. Oh, man. Okay, that staring into the soul thing really works. Oh, boy. Sorry, folks. That's the button I wanted. Just a quick check. Can you see on your screen my presentation? Yes? Okay. Can you see any random notes or timers or anything? Beautiful. Thank you. Okay. Sandy, I'm going to turn it back over to you so you can walk us through the steps of adding comments and suggestions.
Okay. All right. Give me a second so I can pull this up.
You bet. Beth Ann, you have a question? Yeah.
I do. So when you send it to somebody and and you make them an editor and they start typing like you just did, how do you differentiate between what you added and what somebody else added?
Ooh, good question. We're actually going to talk a little bit about that today.
Okay.
No, that's totally fine. It's a great question. It's such a great question that we also thought of that question with our brilliant minds, and we're now going to like answer that question a little later. So just hang tight. We'll come back to it. Okay.
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 So what I want to do, first of all, I'm going to let you know that I have sort of a step-by-step guide that I've created for these steps on how to edit, how to suggest, how to comment, and I will have Rachel maybe put that link in the chat for you. But basically, what we are going to do, and I'll share my screen. I am just going to go into something, and Rachel and I are going to work on this a little bit, but I actually want to go through the step by steps with you so you can see them. So in this particular document, it's something that I just briefly started, and I want to add a comment to it. Let's see, Rachel, am I doing comments and suggestions both, right? Okay.
Yep, you bet.
So I'm going to make a suggestion. So one of the things you can do is you see this little pencil right here that's got editing mode beside it, and the little, what I call a caret to the right of that, that means there's a menu there. So when I click on that, I have the option when I'm in this document to go into editing mode, suggesting mode, or viewing. Commenting is not here. It's in a different place, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I'm first going to do suggesting. So you can see what what happens with suggesting. So, Valentine's is spelled wrong. So I want to try to spell that right. So I'm going to type in an E here. So see what it did when I'm in suggesting mode. It put the E in. It's got a little green box to the right of where I made that suggestion. Plus, it opened up a nice little suggestion box over here. There's my name. I guess I'm the one that put that suggestion in there. If somebody else, like Rachel, had done that, it would have put her name in. It said I replaced the I with an E. And in suggesting mode, I could just put a reply in here that says I need to go back to school to learn how to spell, or I could reject by clicking the X here, and it would reject that change that I made, and it actually sends me, an owner of this document, an email message saying that whoever rejected it rejected that change. If it's accepted, if it's all okay, I would click this little check mark here, and it would accept that change. And watch what happens if I do the little check mark to accept that error that I made. It took away that little green box, and it made that change, even though it's wrong, but it made that change. So that's what happens when you are in suggesting mode. If I had chosen editing from here, I would go to this spot, I would type in the L that it should be, and I'd go to the next area. What didn't happen here? Well, it didn't put that little green box around where I made my change, and it didn't bring up the suggesting window here for someone to accept or reject or comment on that. So that's the difference between editing and suggesting. Now, if I want to do a comment on here, there's always different ways to do it. This is the way that I do it. I just go to Insert, and where's my comment? I forget how to do a comment all of a sudden. I'm drawing a blank. So that's why I have my step-by-step instructions. So if I want to add a comment, there's a little box right here that I forgot about that says Open Comment History. And I can go in here and I can say, I want to add a comment. So I'm going to select this, Valentine's, and I have suggest edits, or I've got the little add comment box here. I'm going to do add comment, and I said, should this be Valentine's? And I'm saying it's wrong. And then I'm going to click on comment. So now I have a comment there, only by actually highlighting the word comments, clicking on the comment history to bring up the little history box. Did I get that? So let me do one other one. So see, when I clicked off of that, I have the suggesting and the commenting boxes right over here. All I have to do is click that. So let's say I want to suggest an edit here, and I want to add to this brainstorming, and I can say something we've just been doing in our course today, Montana trade show concessions. So now I've added a suggestion here. It's got that green box around it, and it added another little suggestion window over here. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, so I'm going to go ahead. Rachel, did you put that step-by-step guide in, the link to it? Okay,
Yeah.
so you
And
guys will have this.
And I think I'm ready to take over. Yeah?
Yeah, I think there's a
All right.
question first. Beth Ann
Oh,
has
sure.
one.
I'm always the problem child. So is this saving on the fly?
It is, yes.
All right. Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
And we're going to talk
Yeah.
about how you can actually, if you're thinking, uh-oh, too many changes got made here and they're not right, we'll show you in a little bit how to go back and revert to an earlier version.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
Rachel.
Okay, so one thing that I'm really excited to show you is what it looks like from the other side. So let's just imagine for a moment that I had been the one to create this document, and I wrote the first two things, and then I sent it off to Sandy and said, hey, Sandy, can you look at this for me, make some edits, add things, etc. So Sandy then gave a suggestion and a comment. So this is what I would see on the other side. So I can see her changes. You'll notice that the Made in Montana trade show concessions, number 3 there, it does not have the green lines around it. That's simply because I didn't do that, right? Sandy did that. So now I'm seeing that retroactively.
Rachel,
So,
do you want to share your screen so they can see what you're seeing? Because
sure.
I'm still sharing mine, and you can still see the green box around it, right? Everyone? Yeah. So I'll stop sharing, and why don't you share, see if you
Thank
can.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
There
Cool.
we go.
Thank you. All right. You'll see that the Valentine's is still yellow highlighted. So I know that that's a comment. And over on the right-hand side, I see the same boxes with the same accept or reject options for my suggestion here, right? So if I thought that the Made in Montana Trade Show concessions should remain on this list, I could accept it. Or if I thought it shouldn't, I could reject it. And if I reject it, it goes away entirely. I've just edited undo. If I accept it, it ends up in black and it's a permanent part of the document now. And then I see she said a comment, should this be Valentine's? No, it should not, Sandy. So I can reply to her. Nope. Alternatively, or rather not alternatively, I can also mark this as resolved. Now, resolved doesn't necessarily mean you're agreeing with comment or disagreeing. Resolved just means, yes, I have taken care of this. I did whatever needed to be done. I'm ready for that yellow highlight to go away. So I'm going to go ahead and resolve this. Okay, so now I've got my document and I've dealt with all the comments and suggestions. Now I might send it to somebody else, or it would go on to the next part of the process, whatever that might be. So that's what that looks like from the other side. Anything to add, Sandy?
Yeah, I just want everyone to know that many people can have this document open at the same time. So you can't see my screen, but I have this document opened on my screen, and I can see every single change that Rachel has now made in the document as she has made that. So things that she resolved or accepted, I see that those have now turned black and those are good. So you could have 10 people in there working on it at the same time, and you're going to see things changing because it's an active, dynamic document. So you really need to also think about whether you want to turn on suggesting versus editing, or commenting, because if that's going to drive you crazy, if you see lots of people in actually editing your document and you're not seeing what they're doing because you don't have suggestion mode turned on, I would say don't give them editing, just give them suggesting privileges. So you really have to think through this when you're collaborating and what's going to work best.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of clarify something, so what Sandy's talking about is, if you'll remember, like there's that moment where you get to share your document and you can decide, I want this person to be able to view or comment or edit my document, right? So you can set up the permissions there, but if you give them editing privileges, then they can use that little pencil drop down arrow, the caret Sandy was talking about earlier, and they could actually turn on comment suggesting mode rather on their own. So just so you know, there are kind of two elements there, right? Like if you give them editing privileges, they still have the ability to suggest. They would just have to turn that on themselves. Versus if you give them only commenting abilities, right? Like they can't edit. And Sandy, that's what you're talking about, right? Like
That is right. Right.
cool.
And as you can
Thank
see,
you.
I just added another brainstorming idea as Rachel was talking. So you can see how this is such a dynamic process.
It's great. Love it. All right. So, oh man, I'm so excited about this part of the presentation. Okay, everybody. I had a ton of fun with a document. I was trying to make it as, I wanted you to want to interact with it. So I think I've done that. Let me say what the heck I'm talking about here. There we go. Here's what task we are going to give you. So I've created an assistant director job description. It's pretty short, but the example that I've given you is fraught with errors, spelling, grammatical, etc. I'm going to ask you to spend a few minutes to make suggestions for how to fix these errors. So this is what you are going to do in a moment here. In a moment, I'm going to give you the link that you need to go to the assistant director job description. When you click on the link, it's going to take you to one extra page that's going to prompt you to make a copy of this document. Go ahead and make the copy. The reason for that is if we all are editing in the same document, or rather all suggesting in the same document, that's going to get really confusing for us. So everybody's going to have their own copy of this document, and that's okay. For our presentation purposes, that's what we want. So you're going to make a copy when it prompts you to, and then it's going to take you to this, this Google Doc. Page 1 is simply instructions. It's going to walk you through how to suggest, which is the concept that Sandy and I were just demonstrating. So in the top right corner, under the blue share button, you're going to see that drop-down menu. You're going to click on it. Step 2, you're going to suggest, or rather select suggesting. Shows you a little picture of how to do that there. Step 3, you're going to make suggestions to the document, which is on the following page. You're going to edit it as you normally would, but instead of it just changing things, if you've got suggestion mode on, it's going to show those green lines. And then it asks you to go to the next page. So when you go to the next page, this is the masterpiece that I've created that you get to now edit. So hopefully you're cringing a little bit. You're like, oh man, I really want to get in there, because that is the goal. So let me go ahead and
Rachel, I've just put that into the chat for people.
Perfect.
So they should be able to see it.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and click on that link. It's going to take you to force you to make a copy. Again, please do that. And then head on over to the document and have at it. Feel free to ask questions at this time if you need to as well. Man, I should have planned to have some super cool like background music happening. Just want to check in. We've got about a minute left. Hopefully that soothing music was good enough to like calm you after seeing all of those horrible errors in the document. Any questions or anybody not seeing the green when they're suggesting that they think they should be seeing? Beth Ann, you shaking your head because you're having trouble? No, you're not having trouble. Okay, cool. If anybody is having trouble, now would be a wonderful time to ask for some help.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. Wow.
That's my reaction to Google every time. Just so cool.
Well,
Oh,
and
man.
you just have to sit down and do it. And I just never take the time to do it, but this is great.
I'm glad you're here. This is perfect then.
Yeah, it is great. It's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Cool.
Huh.
All right.
Before we move on, could I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this might not be the right time to ask it, but when I was at a leadership meeting recently and told the rest of the staff that I was going to be doing this with our Chorus documents, the question came up about using the Chorus Google Drive account and who should have access to the password for that. So when you've created, Sandy, for example, your whole management team, list of folders, et cetera, there were some members on our team that were hesitant about giving everybody access. And then even if every member of the chorus wanted to upload a photo into the photo folder, how do they access the account? Does everybody then have access to the account?
They're only going to have access to the folder that you give them the link to or the privileges to. So that's where it goes back to where I said organization is extremely important and thinking through how you want to set things up. So if you remember on the example of the Helen Express singers, I had two main folders created. One was for the management team and one was pictures and memories. So the pictures and memories, when I shared that with the members, that's the only folder and any of the nested folders within that they can get to. So it all is about how you set that up. It's not that you were talking about passwords. So there's one account owner, one
Right.
account, Gmail account, and one password. So if, for example, that's in the hands of your technology person on your management team or your team coordinator or however you set that up, you just have to make sure that when that person leaves the team and they have a successor join, that you change the account for that successor to be able to be the account owner. Secondly, I have a cheat sheet that I save on the management team folder that has all of the usernames and passwords that the management team may have to have access to if something were to happen to that account owner. Does that answer your question, Lynette?
Yes, I think so. Because right now, our tech person, Sue Middleton, has given me that access information so that I can go in and start doing that. But I didn't know if, when I then set up the management team folders for each coordinator, if they would also need to have that information, or if they will get the link when I send it to them.
They just need to get the link with the appropriate permissions
Okay.
given
Okay.
to them.
Okay. Thank you.
That was a
answers.
good question.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
really good.
Yep.
Really good. All right, Sandy, you've got the next section on version history. You ready?
Yeah. So, gosh, I'm really scared because did people mess my document up? And what do I do now? Do I have to recreate that document? Well, you really don't have to. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to go back to that sample document that Rachel and I were working in. So you should see brainstorm, chorus, fundraising ideas, and you can see we had 4 ideas on here. Now, I have made many major changes to this document in the last week or so. So this is in that step-by-step instruction guide that I sent to you. But just, you don't have to pull that up. I will go through this. So if I want to look at the version history, there's always more than one way to do this. So one way is to go to File, and there's a version history. And I can say I want to see the version history. When I click on that, it brings up a new pane in the window. And you can see all of the various times that this was edited and saved automatically with those changes. So I'm going to click on the earliest version, which is March 7th. So you can sort of see that. I can do that. And there's nothing really there, but if I click over here, so I must have made it, created that document and went away and didn't do anything with it on that early version. But on the version at 8:58 a.m., this document was all about lesson plan ideas and objectives for Introduction to Google Sheets. Had nothing to do with brainstorming back there. So if I look at the March 11th version, oh, I made a bunch of changes here, changed a bunch of things, deleted a bunch of things in here. Now, if I go to the March 11th version, oh, that was that earlier version where we just had 2 things in there. And if I go to this current version from 8:17 p.m., you see the changes that were there at that time. And if that's the version that I like, that's the current version, I don't have to do anything. But let's say I wanted to restore this version. Did you notice when I clicked on that up at the top? It says restore this version. If I click on that, it says, are you really sure? And I'm going to say, go ahead and restore that. And now I have that earlier version restored. So that's one way to get to the version history. So another way to get to the version history is you have this little comment up here. It says, last edit was made seconds ago by Sandy Smith. If I click on that, that also brings up my version history. And if I go back here to March 11th, oh, look at that. I still see that. There's more actions in this little, what I call the hamburger, which is, you know, a top bun, a hamburger, and a bottom bun, but it's the 3 little dots here. If I click on that, you can actually choose to make a copy of that version so that it's still out there for you to review. You could actually give this version a different name, which means you would have a version out there with the original name, and this one would have another name. So if I wanted to, I could go back down here to where I had all those lesson plans, and I could say, name this version, and I'm going to call it lesson plan. So it's easier for me to see what that one was. If I wanted to click make copy, it's going to say, what do you want that copy of that name of that copy to be? I'm just going to leave it as it is. I could say I want to share it with the same people that had the privileges of accessing that version, and click OK once I check that, or I'm just going to say OK. And notice what it's doing. It's actually loading that up in a new tab in my browser. Here is that version. I still have my sample docs version over here. I still have that. I get back to it here. That's that sample doc. So I saved that very early on version with a new name, and then I've got the sample docs still out there. So that make you feel even a little more comfortable knowing that you can revert to those earlier versions about how collaborating can work, and you won't lose anything. Well, I should clarify that. You might lose a couple of edits that happen in the few seconds before it's automatically saved it. So know that you could lose just a little bit because it's automatically going out there and saving it. But if something happened before it did that, you could lose just a little bit. Beth Ann?
So if you've got all these versions out there, is everybody able to see all those versions if you've given them those permissions? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Everybody.
if they have the editing, you know, the full permission, then they could all go out there and say, and they could restore. So
Okay.
again, think very carefully about how you set this up and how you give permissions and all of that. That's really key.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a closing activity, but based on the time, I think I'd like to go, well, a reflection activity, I should say. Based on the time, I think I'd like to jump to our closing activity. Sandy, are you okay with that?
I'm great.
Okay. So our closing activity is simply, what questions do you still have that we can help you answer? Beth Ann has been like on it. Deborah.
So when you get done with all the editing and everybody's looked at it and you have the final version, can you get rid of the rest of the stuff? All those other versions?
Mm-hmm. Can't you, Rachel?
I don't know.
So in other words, all the edits will continue to travel with that document in perpetuity. And I guess that's okay. But it would be like, wow. So when you have the final version, I guess you could name it something else and create a new document. No?
You could, yeah. Yeah, I've never really thought about it. I don't know that you can delete those per se. I'm not sure why you would necessarily want to do that, but I think the solution you just came up with is probably your best option.
Yeah, to make a copy of it and give it the name of the final version if you wanted to, and then remove that other named document.
I don't know why you would to, but you might. I mean, somebody might have said something crazy, or who knows. Yeah.
And even when you remove a document within Google, it actually sends it to like a trash can, a recycle bin, that you still have a little bit of opportunity to move it out of there if you wanted to.
Deborah?
I had a question about organizational hierarchy. So like in the management team hierarchy that you had for the chorus, everyone in the team can see and have full editing privileges for every other coordinator's files. Did I understand that right?
Yes. In the way that, in my example, that is the way that that would work. That doesn't mean you can't go into an individual folder for a coordinator or an individual file within a folder and remove people who have access to that you don't want to have access to it. Or you can change their privileges and that they can view it only and not edit. So even though for me it's easiest to set up that top folder and give access to everybody, I still have control within that folder to change who I've shared it with and privileges.
So I'm thinking your finance person is really, truly not wanting people to have any kind of editing privileges at all on the finance. Right. And there may be some documents that are confidential that need to be not visible.
Right.
So you can go into individual files or individual documents and change those permissions.
Yes, you can.
Oh, yep. Perfect.
That was a great question.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beth Ann, I'm going to get you in 1 second.
Yeah, no problem, I forgot what the question was.
Okay, well, if it comes back to you, let me know. I did want to just make a comment. So Joy in the chat said, sounds like suggestion is the best way to go. And I would say it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. For example, as Sandy and I are putting together these classes, we both have editing permissions on all of our combined documents. So I could go in and change the slideshow without commenting or suggesting first, and so too could she. And that works great for us because we're working as a team, and we both know we're not going to like delete the whole thing and that kind of thing. So it really just depends on what you're trying to accomplish and what you want the end result to look like, I guess. So
yeah. And as you're rolling this out, maybe initially you do just suggesting only, just until people get comfortable working with it. And once you've developed that comfort level, you can always change that.
Yep, absolutely. Beth Ann.
I remembered the question. So I'm dealing right now on my Google Drive. I'm running out of space and they want me, of course, to upgrade to another version, blah, blah, blah. So how are you handling the expense of having the Google Drive available? Is the course paying for that if you're doing that, or
yeah?
What's happening with that?
And I will tell you, when I set this up, which wasn't that long ago for the Express Singers, when you add all those pictures, that's going to take up storage. I purchased a storage. Now I have 200 gig of storage on there, and that was $29 for a year. It's very inexpensive. It's something we budget for within the chorus. So you do want to take that into consideration. I try not to do videos much in there, because when you have a Google account, Google owns YouTube. I put our videos all out on YouTube.
Yeah,
it doesn't take up my storage space.
Yeah, to YouTube for our videos, and that's going to solve that problem. But yeah, because we've used Dropbox, and that has become cumbersome, and it doesn't have this collaboration feature. So there's really no reason to use Dropbox.
That's right. Exactly. So I know we have some newer people who haven't been to some of these classes. I am going to put in the chat a link to the Region 13 YouTube technology class playlist also, because not only do we have recordings from the sessions that we've done, but Rachel and I have done like 2-minute tips and trick videos for you too. So I'm going to put that in there just so you know that that's there before we end if you want to copy that.
Yeah, and we'll continue to add to that as we go. That way, if you forget something, it's just one little thing. You don't have to rewatch necessarily the whole class to find it.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions this evening?
Well, those classes before were wonderful, and this one is no exception. It just follows in the same path. They have been really nicely layered, and I feel like, okay, I'm ready for this stuff now.
Yay! Thanks, Deborah.
And there's so much more. Just wait. We've got more coming too. And as you start to understand how this all works and feel comfortable with it, share the word with others, because this is a great tool for managing your choruses or your quartets or personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a ton of choruses out there struggling with Dropbox right now. So
Yeah.
Yeah, just FYI, I have an international committee that I am on, and we use all of Google Drive, and pick up all of the documents and do the changes and all of that kind of stuff, and it's really cool.
great.
Good.
Yeah.
Eileen, did you have a question? A comment?
I use this quite all the time, like for tabs, and when I'm in YouTube or whatever, I'll use control and then click on something and it'll put it. So I did that with the step-by-step guide, and I have a second monitor over to my left, and I have it up here, but now I don't know what to do with it. As far as how do I save it? I don't know what to do.
Oh, you have the document in your drive that was shared with you, or just?
It's the step-by-step guide that you made up.
Oh, okay. And I put that as a document in there. So if you just go, can you just go to File Save on that document that it's probably in your downloads, right?
I don't know.
Go to your File Explorer if you actually opened it up.
Okay, downloads, and no, I don't know. I don't see it.
Okay, so do you have it open just in your Word right now?
I don't use Word, but it's let's see, what's it? If I hover over the little blue document icon, it says Docs Home on it. And I don't know, it's just open in another tab on my computer.
All right. Do you have a file up at the top that you can see in your menus? In the tab, if it doesn't look like a Google Doc. Go ahead, Rachel.
Can I share screen? I think I might be able to help a
Okay.
little bit here. Let me see. Okay, so so I just opened the step-by-step guide. I've got it open here. So the file button is right here up in the top left.
Okay.
And when I click on that, I can make a copy. So I can essentially like copy it to my drive if I want to do that. I can also, where is it? Document details down here. If I click on that, I can see where it's located. So I can see if it's already in my drive or not. So that might be helpful for you as well. Because when as the owner of a document, if I say everyone with the link can view it and then somebody else clicks on the link, I don't think it automatically goes into your drive. I think you have to tell it to copy it into your drive.
Okay, so when I clicked on document details, all it brought up was a small box that says document details and created on March 9th. That's all that it says. It doesn't have anything else on there.
So what that tells me is that it does not currently exist in your drive. And so in order to remedy that, under that file button, you should have a make a copy button or copy to my drive.
Right.
Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so you can click on that and make a copy. Alternatively, if you want to come back to this exact document and edit it or suggest on it or whatever it is, rather than making a brand new copy, the other thing you can do is add shortcut to drive. That's a little further on down the list.
Yeah.
And what that will do is essentially create, it looks like a document, but it's actually a link. And so when you click on that, it goes to this exact document with all of the edits, suggestions, etc. that have been made on it, versus if you hit make a copy or copy into my drive or whatever your button says, that will create an entirely new document that you have access to, but nobody else has access to, and you don't have the version history or anything like that.
Okay, then, but now I don't, I can
Hold on one second. Hold on.
Just-
I know that sound. It's okay. Give me a second, Eileen. So, Eileen, if you could just stick around for a second, that would be amazing.
Sure.
I want to get this cleared up for you. Are there any other questions before we let you all go? Okay. Feel free to stick around. We're going to solve Eileen's problem, but also feel free to go out and enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Another awesome class. Thank
Yeah.
you so
Thank
much.
you
for
so
doing
much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. We know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, especially with editing privileges.
Exactly. Woo!
Thank you so much. This was fabulous.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Eileen, are you
Eileen.
able to share your screen with us? Yeah.
Oh, probably. Let's see. Let me share and
Yeah, we can see it, the step-by-step
Okay.
guide. Okay.
okay. So now I don't know how to get it into the Google Docs thing.
Okay, so top left, the file button.
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on that for us. Okay, so you can go with two options. You can either click make a copy, and what that will actually go ahead and do that. So now what you're looking at is you are going to make an exact copy of this document into your own Google Drive. You can rename it, and then you can select which folder it's going to exist in. So that's one option. Go ahead and hit cancel. The other option is File, Add Shortcut to Drive. And now it's going to take this exact document. So if Sandy makes updates later, if I make updates later, and you want to come back to this exact document, this is the option for you. Now you would go ahead and use the arrow button next to my drive and figure out where you want it in your drive. Okay.
Okay.
And then you'd hit the blue button, Add Shortcut here. Does that make sense, Eileen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, I think I might just create a new folder and
Go for
put
it.
in here Region 13 Google training or something.
Love it.
I had to get my cat out of the way. He was laying on my desk wanting me to pet him. It's hard to type with him in the way.
No kidding. Just so you're aware, we can still see your screen. That's totally fine. No pressure
Yeah,
to
that's
stop
fine.
sharing, but okay. Don't do anything embarrassing is all I'm saying.
Okay, so there's that. So I do that, and then the folder's empty, and then I add the shortcut.
Yeah.
And then it should be there. Okay.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
That did not sound confident. Eileen, are there any other questions we can answer for you? Or do you want to go into your drive right now and find that document?
Well, yeah, maybe I should do that.
Okay.
I can close this probably and just
Yeah.
go, no, here, I think, no. See, now from here, I don't know where to go to find.
Just type
Drive.
in drive in the little address bar. That's going to be the easiest.
Okay.
Yeah. Ooh.
Why
And
did that?
then it didn't quite get the drive there. Try typing it again.
Okay. And then, oh, I see. Okay, that's why I didn't. Okay, I get it. There we
There
go.
you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my problem is I don't ever know how to organize stuff. I'm not very organized.
That's a hard
okay.
one, that's for sure.
One of the reasons I love Google Drive is because there's a search bar up top. So when I inevitably forget where I've put something important, I just search for it. Then doesn't matter which folder it's in.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But you can see there that you've got your Region 13 Google training folder.
Oh, there. Okay. Down here. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. And all the other training that you guys have given us, I can put in there, right?
Sure.
Okay.
And
Hopefully I
Eileen,
can figure that out. Yes.
I just have to say, I'm so glad you were asking these questions because this has got to be one of our 2-minute tips and tricks videos we do. Because, well, seriously, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have that same question, and we don't think about everything we need to send out to people. So that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question. It's Joy. I have a question. If you, like Eileen said, she wants to take her previous files from or documents from the training and put it into the Google training file, how would she do that?
Well, it's going to depend where those documents are. Are they documents that you already have in your drive?
Well, I think the last time you sent stuff, you sent it in an email, I think. And
there was an eBlast article that had some of those links in it.
Okay, I probably put it in here somewhere.
Quick reminder, you are still sharing screen.
There.
Yeah, do you want to continue to share your screen, Eileen, or do you want to
it's
stop
okay.
sharing?
I'm not
Okay.
worried about it. Okay.
Joy, to answer your question, so for example, if a file comes by email that you want, like you would get it from your email, and then we currently, Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, we currently do not have one file folder where everybody can view things. Is that accurate, Sandy?
That for technology classes, that is accurate. Yes.
Yeah. So we've just sent things out periodically. So there's no way to, like, right now at least, retroactively get all of those documents without, like, asking us personally.
Okay, but if I had a document in an email somewhere, how do I move it from there to Google Docs?
Okay. And I think that's what Sandy was working on.
Yeah. So you would want to go to where that document is. So I think I gave it, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Because I think that was in an eBlast real recently. Well, actually, those eBlasts are on the dashboard of the website for members only. So if I go to that link,
regional website,
on the regional, on the dashboard, it says archived eBlasts, and if I follow that whole trail through, it was in the February 2022 eBlast, I believe. So I want to look and see how that's on there. Okay, so there are 4 links there. So if I click on the quick, okay, you're doing it. That's fine. Go to archived eBlasts. And then go to the eBlast for 2022 down there at the bottom. That's a link if you see that. And then see February 2022 at the top. Nice. Okay, scroll down on there and you see that there are links for the handouts, because that's what we're talking about.
These.
So, yes, so click on the quick reference guide.
Okay.
And now we can see how it's opening it up. It's opening it up as a Google Doc. So you see, did you see that? If you hover up towards the top above that document, there was an open with. See that little open with? Hit that, that caret. So what are our choices here? You can open it up with Google Docs. So open it up with your Google Docs. Oh, Rachel, did you have an easier way to do it?
I do. So if you go back to that document for a moment, the previous window you were in, tab. So up at the top left, there's a triangle with a plus button. Top right, triangle with a plus. Okay, it's directly to the right of the open with button. Yeah, you can see it when you move your cursor. That one, yeah, click on that.
Oh, that's great. See, I learned something. Yay!
Okay. And then I can go here and go here and add it, right?
Awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
That's
Okay.
exactly right.
You go, Eileen.
Yeah, I know. Like, look at her. Wow.
Yeah, well, like Beth Ann said, I know just enough to be dangerous.
Janice, did you have a question?
Yes. Janice has a question. You're muted, Janice. Click it one more time. You're still muted.
Working.
There you
That
go.
says
Hear you.
mute.
No.
Okay, all right. What I would, I've been more accustomed to Word. I'm just wondering if I can do similar things in Google when I decide to do that. Like when I get a document open that I want to save somewhere, I just go to print, save as PDF, and then designate the folder. Can you do that with the Google stuff too?
Well, Drive is made up of files or folders. So if you have created folders in Drive, you can bring in your Word document that you have into that Drive folder, or you can start a document from scratch within there by creating a new Google Doc.
Yeah, and you can also, if you specifically want your document to be a PDF, you can also do that in Google Docs. So that is an option.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my question is can I just go to file, print, save as PDF, and then when it asks me what folder I want it in, I just pull up the folder? Can I do that in Google stuff?
Well, the
Yes.
file has to be there though first. You have to have it in your Google Drive somewhere, right?
Well, right. Yeah, right. If I I was just asking if I could do that. I just do that maneuver all the time. It always works for me.
Mm-hmm. So if you
Sometimes
go,
if you just put the link in the file, it gives you a description of all the language rather than the document. But if you print it to PDF,
Mhm.
then you get the actual document that you can read.
Yeah, so when you've got that document open in Google Drive, if you go to File, and all the way at the bottom, there's a print. And when you go to print, and I'm in something that's looking a little funny, but you can go to the destination and save it as a PDF. Instead of choosing a printer, you just do save as PDF. It's very similar to what you do in Word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I wanted to
also if the document is already in Google Docs, just like Eileen just did, can you go to that open with or open as, remember in the center, that little blue carrot?
You
that-
can, but that's not actually creating a different like PDF file or
Oh,
whatever
okay.
you want.
Right.
Yeah, works differently.
The other way to create a PDF from a Google Doc would be File, and then under Download, PDF document is an option there as well.
Now what that's going to do is actually download it to your computer. So it's that PDF will not still be in your, it won't be in your drive. It'll go down to your computer.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I think that happens with the file print set destination as well, does it not?
Well, you can actually have it stay in there,
Well,
I think. Let's try it. Let's test it.
Okay.
You have to choose your folder where you want it to be sent.
Mm-hmm.
There's a see more.
Oh,
Let's
you
check
just
on that
save
for
it.
a second.
Yeah,
What
just
is
do a
that?
save
that's
as
just-
PDF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Save as PDF. Oh, it all looks good.
And then
Saving.
you
Let's
say,
find out what. Okay, so then it opens my computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
so then you could navigate to any file that you have access to, including Google, I would think, to Google files to put it in there if
Well,
you wanted to. Or
there's
if you were already in Google.
Well, if you downloaded it to your computer, you could print it from there and print as a PDF, or you could print it within Google just as a doc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And very, very advanced, and I'm just going to say this can be done, but I'm not going to go any further in it. You can actually create a link on your desktop of your computer to your Google Drive and work directly from that as well, so you don't have to actually go into your browser to do it. But
Yeah.
I do that some.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Janice, if when you start playing around with that, if it's not doing what you want it to do, or you're having trouble finding the location you're expecting to see, go ahead and reach out to Sandy or I, and we can kind of do a more personalized training. That way, if you have like a specific task, you're like, I want this file to be here. We'll have a much clearer understanding of exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish, and we'll be able to help a little bit more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thanks.
Yeah, of course.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Okay.
I'm staying on.
I haven't been willing to fork out the money for the Microsoft Office stuff with all Word and everything in it. And so I'm using the free Open Office program. And then if I create a document in there, and then because Pride is using Slack for a lot of communication things and all of our stuff. And if I put one of my Open Office documents in there, the other people in there can't access it. They can't open it. So how do I don't know how to help or how to get it to where they can access that. Do I go in, can I put it in Google Docs and then share it from there into Slack? I'm not sure. I think I have done that, but I don't know. Is that the best way to do it? I don't really know.
I can think of two ways. One would be the one you just mentioned, which is put it into Google Docs and then share. The other way would be in Open Office, when you're saving, there are different options for file formats. And there's one type of file format that can be opened with most word processors. And I would guess that if you save it as that type, then probably the other people on Slack, when they try to open it, it'll just open in their word processor, be it, Google Docs or, Google or Microsoft Word, right?
Okay. Yeah.
What is the file extension on that, Sandy? Do you remember off the top of your head?
No, I don't, because I don't use
hold on.
Slack, so I don't know.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, tell me what you come up with, because certain file extensions, it could be an issue. So what is the file
ODT,
extension? Yes.
Open document format.
That'll work.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. So, so Eileen, again, if you want to share your screen, I can walk you through it. And
Okay.
if you'd open your Open Office and then to whatever document, then we can see if it's got that option, and I'll bet it does.
Let me see.
I'm a nerd, but this is like the best use of a Friday night ever. Like, I'm so happy right now.
Okay, let's see there.
Time of my life.
And share. Okay, so what I did was open up my documents in my computer.
Okay.
And let me see. For instance, this is one thing that I share on Slack is this. Okay. And so so how do I do that again? Go into File?
So File, and then Save As. And then let's see, fingers crossed. Oh, it already is.
It's an OD.
Shoot, so I guess that won't work because that sounds like what? Darn. Okay.
Well, if she just wants them to see the document and not necessarily do any editing to it, she could just save it as a PDF and then attach it to the into Slack.
Well, if I click on the little down arrow,
yes,
then it gives me more options as far as.
Yeah. I mean, you can
Can
try
I use
saving it
one
as
of
a
those?
Microsoft Word if everybody else is using Word, but I don't know if the other people in Slack are using Microsoft Word or if they're using Google
I
Docs.
think most of them are, but
Google Docs or Word?
Word.
Okay, so maybe that would be the way to go then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What you wouldn't want to do is text for sure, because
Right.
that will lose all your formatting.
Right.
okay, so I don't know which one to pick. I don't know which one to pick.
Choose the Microsoft Word 97, and that way I think most people could open it up. Even if they have a newer version of Microsoft, it'll open up that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the DOC. Yep, that would work.
Okay.
I'd give that a shot.
But what we're encouraging people to do is start. I mean, if you want to really get into Google Drive and start collaborating, create your document directly in Google Drive, and I think you'll be in really good shape.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just a
Oh, I
consideration.
see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. So I can take my blank or even any of my other templates and move it into Google Drive and
Yep.
then edit it from there and
Absolutely.
then
Yeah.
save it there and then I can share it, right?
Yeah. And I've
Right.
used Slack before, and you can share a link to a Google document in Slack.
Yeah. And because I did that, I think with March's, because our meeting is tomorrow.
Okay.
And my March report for education is I put it on Slack, and then I had a couple people send me emails or ask me to share it. And so then I moved it over to Google Drive, and then I shared it with them so that they could see it. And so far it has kind of worked, but
Good.
Yeah.
I'm still
Yeah,
kind of
that's
new at all of some of this kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and Eileen, you mentioned the fact that, you haven't bought the Microsoft because they're so expensive. And that's another reason why
Yeah.
we're advocating for Google, because it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
yeah.
And anybody can open up those Google Docs, and yeah.
Yeah. I have Open Office, but the only reason that I have Open Office, in addition to the Google products, is I go to one school. I travel around. I'm a traveling teacher that doesn't have internet, and very rarely something will go wrong with my Google situation, because you can actually make documents available offline, which is amazing. But every now and again, my computer will spontaneously reboot, and then it'll cause an issue, and I'll need to like download those and have them and open them on my screen. But it happens so infrequently. And it's only because I'm in just the weirdest situation where there's no internet and also a weird tech thing happens. So other than that, I hardly ever use that software.
Uh-huh.
I just live with Google and I love it,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I think maybe what I might do is start moving stuff over to Google Docs and start using stuff from there then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And if as you're doing it, if you have trouble, again, just feel free to
Yeah.
reach out.
Okay, great.
We're always available.